All right, here's the, I think, fifth and last box. I'll just go through this one as well, and we'll finish out the series. All right, I got Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. I think I already revealed, yeah, the other two. So I got the, and they all have kind of, they all must have came in the box set because they all have the similar kind of color style, and New Line Platinum series is the thing anyways. But yeah, so I got all three now on DVD. So I got the whole series. Again, I want to do a watch party and just point out all the, because I'm a big James Bond fan, so it's kind of fun to, I think, to watch it and kind of point out and kind of count how many James Bond references there are, because I think there's a lot of hidden ones that you don't even think about. But anyways, this is the first one, of course. It's probably my favorite now, just because the originality of it, and just it's such a great satire on James Bond. And being a James Bond fan, I kind of laugh more at the funny stuff. Like Dr. Evil is such a great, it's probably my favorite character of the series. He's played by Mike Myers as well. Such a funny, play on what's his name? Now I'm forgetting his name, but one of the main villains of James Bond, the Spectre, leader. But in saying that, it's not quite as gross as the other two. I think once you get, Fat Bastard in there, and then it gets really gross and a little immature in the humor. It's still pretty immature in the humor, but not quite as bad. I think they do a little bit better with the satire in that one. I didn't see that one in the theater, I don't think. I saw the second and third one in the theater, though. Because I remember when it came out, and I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't quite understand what it was. And then when I finally got around to watching it, I was like, oh. I think I watched it at a friend's house, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like a James Bond satire. This is absolutely hilarious. All right, then I got On Golden Pond, which I'm pretty sure is this. I bought this DVD, and again, I probably gave it to my parents thinking I'd buy the Blu-ray at some point, but I never have. And at this point, I don't really need a Blu-ray anymore. I'm okay with just having a DVD. And yeah, this is a movie that my parents, or at least my dad, I know, was a big fan of, and I used to watch as a kid. It's some really, really good performances. Henry Fonda, this is his last film. As you see, he's in his 80s at this point. One of my favorite actors of all time, one of the all-time great actors, I think. And he won the Oscar for Best Actor, and he died like months later. I mean, because he was kind of towards the end of his life, but really cool performance to see. He ends his career on, an Oscar win. Katharine Hepburn also wins the Oscar. She wins her fourth Oscar, being the only actress or actor to win 4 Oscars for, at least for Best Actor, Actress. Anyways, but absolutely incredible. So really good performance by those two as they're getting older. And then Jane Fonda, also really good performance. And just the fact that Jane Fonda and Harry Fonda are real father and daughter who have real problems in real life, and they're playing characters that are father and daughter who are having problems, just makes it even cooler when they have those really dramatic scenes and you go, oh wow, like how much of this is the movie, how much of this is, real life just happening before us anyways. But it's a very dramatic movie, though there are some comedic moments here and there. Definitely, it's worth a watch just for the acting. I think is just so phenomenal in that movie. All right. Here we got Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Yeah, okay, so I haven't talked about this yet, because I talked about when I was talking about Transformers, because I got Transformers in the last video, the very first Transformers movie, and I said I don't really care to have any more Transformers movies. I think the first one's by far the best one. I feel the same way about Pirates of the Caribbean. I really like this first movie. I think it was a real fun, action adventure movie. A lot of good comedy. Johnny Depp, he really blew up after this, because he was, he was an actor that was in movies here and there, but he wasn't I don't feel like he was a big giant star at that point. But this movie made him a giant star. And the character Jack Sparrow is going to always forever be like the character you always think about when you think about Johnny Depp, I think. Even though he's played so many different weird characters. He got an Oscar nomination for playing Jack Sparrow in this movie, which is funny because it's a very comedic character, and yet he got an Oscar nomination. I think he even won like a SAG award for Best Actor. But it was just one of those really great characters that he just totally lost himself in, and he became Jack Sparrow, I think, and that's why he got so much recognition. And yeah, like I said, he was on a huge rise at this point, and every movie he made was pretty big. He kind of course, had a downfall recently, and he hadn't made a movie in a while, and his star power is definitely dimmed. But man, this was him at the height of his power. But it was a fun pirate movie. We hadn't had a really good fun pirate movie until here. I feel like this was like the first like pirate movie. I'm like, oh, let's make more fun pirate movies. I like a good pirate movie, you know. And I feel like we haven't made enough of them since then. But this is a really good movie. The action's really well done. Like I said, a really fun movie. And this also, I should say, this package is, or this DVD itself is so great. Cause like I said, I'm pretty sure I think I bought this one and I haven't upgraded to Blu-ray yet. But it has like 3 audio commentaries on it. It has one of the best kind of making of special features, and like one of the actors like had a video camera on set, and a lot of cool footage of just the actors hanging out and stuff. So one of the best, I think, special feature DVDs I've ever seen, where it has so many cool special features on it. So definitely glad I got that back. I could upgrade to Blu-ray, but at this point, whatever. I don't care as much. Then we got As Good as It Gets. Another movie that I know, this one I had, and I think I gave it to my parents and was going to upgrade to Blu-ray, never did. Might as well get it back. This is a huge movie for Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. They both won Best Actor, Best Actress. Yeah, Jack Nicholson, one of the greatest actors of all time. This was his second Oscar win as the Best Actor, third overall Oscars, because he won a Best Supporting Actor as well for another movie. But really great performance, I think, from Jack Nicholson. This character who's kind of a jerk character who kind of has a great character arc where he becomes a little nicer at the end, and he has this neurotic, I don't know what you want to call it, disability, whatever, OCD and all these other stuff, very germaphobe. And but yeah, I like the character arc of him. The only thing I would say, which I don't like as much now looking back, is it's a romantic movie between him and Helen Hunt. And Jack Nicholson's, much older at this point, and Helen Hunt is still, not young, but she's, much younger, it feels like, than Jack Nicholson, and she's, attractive. And so the idea that these two would get together still doesn't make a lot of sense to me watching back. Like, and besides, he's a real jerk, so I'm like, I don't really. At the time, I thought the romance worked, but then looking back, I go, this is not the best romance I've ever seen. And it's supposed to play as kind of a romantic comedy in a sense, I suppose. But Great Canary also really, first time I think I ever saw Great Canary in the movie. I thought Great Canary also got nominated for an Oscar, was really good in this movie as well. Like, see, you get, it came out in 97, went up against Titanic. One of the few movies that won both Oscars for Best Actor and Best Actress in the same movie, which is pretty cool. All right, here's Goldmember. Okay, so I haven't talked about any of the other, I forget if I've talked about Austin Powers yet, because I just had Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. Here's Goldmember. I know I have The Spy Who Shagged Me. I don't know if I've talked about that one, or I've revealed that one yet. But anyways, I got all 3 films, like I said, on DVD now. This is definitely my least favorite of the 3. I think it's definitely very gross at times and very immature comedy, but it does have some good comedic moments that still make me laugh. So it's a mixture of that, and again, a lot of special features. It's very well done on the special features, and a really good audio commentary by Mike Myers, and who co-wrote it with somebody else. That's probably the director of the movie. Here I got Annie. I had no idea my parents had this one. I used to love this as a kid. This is definitely one of those movies I used to watch quite a bit, and I'm a big fan of musicals. And I suppose as a kid I liked it because it stars a kid, and I always thought it was funny. I must have had this on VHS or something like that, because I remember watching it quite a bit as a kid. Anyway, so I was really happy to find this and go, I need to watch this again. I think the music is really good. Like, I was listening to the music one time, and I was like, man, I mean, not only do you have the, Sun Comes Out Tomorrow, but, the Hard Knock Life is great. There's this one scene where she's like looking out the window and she's singing this really nice, pretty song about, life being better or something. I don't know. There's a lot of good music in here. It's a classic, definitely one of the big classic musicals. I think it's a very solid musical. All right, you got The Rules of Engagement. This movie came out in the early 2000s, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel Jackson. And I remember I saw this actually in a drive-through theater, believe it or not. I went and saw, I remember me and some friends went and saw, I don't know if drive-through theaters are still a thing, but I remember we went and saw Mission Impossible 2, and it was a double feature. They usually do double features at drive-in. So the first movie was Mission Impossible 2. The second movie was Rules of Engagement. I remember watching both those movies. I was more excited about Mission Impossible 2. I didn't really care that much about Rules of Engagement. But I found myself really liking Rules of Engagement a lot more than Mission Impossible 2, to be honest, which is the worst of the Mission Impossible movies. But I really like courtroom dramas. This is a really good courtroom drama with Tommy Lee Jones playing the lawyer who's defending Samuel Jackson, who's was part of a special forces group, something like that was trying to get an ambassador out of a bad situation in the Middle East, and he ends up killing some civilians, and he gets put on like a trial for like war crimes. And his friend Tommy Lee Jones, who was a former military, also gets to defend him. And the courtroom scenes are really good. I believe Guy Pearce is the other lawyer, so really good back and forth between the two lawyers. It was directed by Willem Friedkin. I think might have passed away recently, but Willem Friedkin, pretty well-known director who directed like The French Connection, won an Oscar for that. Also did Exorcist. I think it's 2 big films. So really good director here. And really, again, this is a movie not many people have really talked about or probably know about. It wasn't a big movie. It just kind of came and went. But I think it's a really solid, if you like courtroom dramas, like this is a real solid courtroom movie. Overall, yeah, really good movie, I think. Another kind of hidden gem movie to check out if you haven't seen it or have heard of it. All right, we got Shanghai Noon, Jackie Chan, Owen Wilson. I'm a big fan of Jackie Chan. And at this time, when these movies were coming out, man, I was seeing anything that Jackie Chan was in, I was seeing. Also, funny, Owen Wilson I only knew him from Armageddon at this point. And then this movie came out, and it was like kind of the first, like, kind of co-starring movie I saw with Owen Wilson. And I thought Owen Wilson was so funny in this movie, and he went on to do a lot of good work since then. But it feels like this is kind of early on when Owen Wilson wasn't quite a big star yet, and then he would kind of become a bigger star with the Wes Anderson movies and so forth, and a lot of other movies. And a lot of movies he did with like Ben Stiller. He did a lot of good stuff with him. But anyways, yeah, this is of course, Jackie Chan. So it's a kung fu western, which is an interesting combination of it's not one of Jackie Chan's best kung fu movies. This is when he was starting to make American movies, because he was transitioning from just being a Hong Kong kung fu star to then being in American movies. And he's a little bit older, at this point, but still could move and still do good action as well. But they're not going to be as good as his 80s kung fu action movies. They're always going to be his best stuff, But still, I thought it was a solid movie. I saw it in the theater. Like I said, I saw like everything with Jackie Chan in the theater, including this sequel, Shanghai Nights. I like this actually quite a bit better than Shanghai Noon. Shanghai Noon's okay. It does have that Jackie Chan comedy in it. I think this is actually even funnier. The first one, they're in the Old West. This one, they're in England. They travel to England, and also has the first appearance of Donnie Yen that I've ever seen. And we get a small fight scene between Jackie Chan and Donnie Yen, which is really cool. I feel like Donnie Yen hadn't become a big thing yet. This is before he did the Ip Man movies, and he's been in Star Wars. And anyways, but yeah, so it's cool seeing Donnie Yen as a villain here fighting against Jackie Chan. But yeah, I thought it was a really funny movie. Some clever, again, the action scenes aren't going to be the best Jackie Chan action scenes, but still they're solid because they have Jackie Chan action with the comedy, and it works really well. And then him and Owen Wilson, I think, are a really good duo. He kind of first started with what was it called? The movies with Tucker, where they played police officers. Those are kind of the first movies that he did in America, and he kind of, because it seemed like when he came to America, he always do these duo comedy action movies. And he did 2 with Owen Wilson. He did 3 with, what's his name? Tucker, I'm forgetting his name. And it seemed like he would do that quite a bit anyways. But yeah, really solid action comedy, in my opinion. Surprised they haven't done a third one. And now they're getting older, so I don't know. Probably won't be a third one, but could have been a cool third one. Here we got The Jewel of the Nile, which I believe I have, let's see. Yeah, I have Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. So the first one is Romancing the Stone. It was Robert Zemeckis' first big hit movie before he did Back to the Future. In fact, he already wrote Back to the Future, him and Bob Gale, and they're trying to get the Back to the Future made, but nobody would make it. No one, I guess, no one cared for the script at the time, and he had made 2 movies before this that didn't do well, so he wasn't a big enough name to make a movie. But he got the chance to make Romancing the Stone. It became a big hit. He then was able to use that to then someone finally then they everybody wanted to make Back to the Future because they're like, okay, Rob Zemeckis, has a big hit behind his name. So then he did Back to the Future, and he's become one of the greatest directors of all time, I think, making some of the biggest movies of all time. Anyways, but yeah, still a really cool, if you haven't seen it, with Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, really good action adventure movie. This is the sequel to Jewel and Nile, which I always thought was decent, not as good as Romancing the Stone, but Robert Zemeckis didn't direct this one. They got a different director, so I don't know what happened there, why Zemeckis didn't come back, but so it's a different director, but still, Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner are great. Danny DeVito's in both movies as well. But yeah, it's overall a decent action adventure series. All right, here we got Wayne's World, and I believe I got Wayne's World 2. Yeah, so I'll just pull those both out. Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2. I actually have Wayne's World already on a Steelbook Blu-ray. I already got it, so I was like, I wasn't sure if I needed to get it again on DVD, but I thought since I don't have Wayne's World 2, and these obviously came like in a package because you can tell that this has the same like color scheme and everything. So it's obviously this came like together, the widescreen collection, whatever. And so I don't know. To me, I was like, I might as well get both of them since they both seem like they belong together. Like they obviously made these. They designed these to be together anyways. But yeah, of course, what can I say? I was a big fan of both movies. I didn't see the first one in the theater. I saw it on TV. I always said it introduced me to Bohemian Rhapsody, introduced me to Queen, basically also introduced me to the song Stairway to Heaven and Led Zeppelin. So musically, it introduced me to a lot of great music. But it's, of course, these are characters from Saturday Night Live that Michael Myers and Dana Carvey play. And I thought really funny idea for a movie. I mean, what I love about it, it's very fourth wall breaking because it's like they know there's a camera there and they talk to the camera constantly and they do things that are very unrealistic. And they do, like one of the funniest things at the end, they do multiple endings. They do an ending, they go, oh, that ending wasn't good enough. Let's do a different ending, So it was very unique, very creative comedy idea from, the brilliant mind of Mike Myers, who I believe co-wrote the movie as well. But yeah, Wayne's World 2 also a very good sequel to it. I think the first one I like a little bit better. Still, there's so many great moments in both movies. Great characters. Kind of surprised they didn't do a third one again, because I know they're pretty big hits. And I saw the second one in the movie theater, and that was pretty big at the time. All right, now we got Star Trek Into Darkness. I already revealed that Star Trek, the first Star Trek movie in the series. And this is the sequel, which I also saw in the theater. And again, I liked it okay. The only thing I don't like is they're redoing the Wrath of Khan movie and bringing back Khan in this. But Khan is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, which is weird because it's Benedict Cumberbatch. The whole idea is that this is like an alternative. This is like Star Trek, the original crew, but an alternative universe other than the original series. So there's a lot of things it's the same characters, but different situations because it's an alternative universe. So in this alternative universe, Khan is a British guy, while in the original series, Khan was, I'm not sure what he was, Latino or something. Ricardo Montalban has such a great accent, and his villain character is so good. His version of Khan is so good, I think way better than Benedict Cumberbatch, who he's a good actor, but I don't know. When he was Khan, I'm like, really? Like, this is the best I could do for Khan? Like why don't they get someone that was more resembling of Ricardo Montalban, I think, who was so good in that character. And I think Wrath of Khan is a way better movie than this. So I don't know. So it's weird that they kind of redid the same storyline with Khan. Didn't work that well for me, but other than that, it's okay. It's got some good, action Good characters and all that. Well directed by J.J. Abrams again. So I got every movie but Star Trek Beyond. So I need to buy Star Trek Beyond now just to have every single Star Trek movie and complete the Star Trek series. And here we got more James Bond. This is The World Is Not Enough. This is Pierce Brosnan's third movie in the series of the four they did. And I always enjoyed this one. This is another one that's pretty solid. I like the Pierce Brosnan movies. I think he gets a lot of hate. I've heard a lot of James Bond fans think the Pierce Brosnan movies are the worst. I disagree. They're some of my favorite. I think really good villain. If I remember Carlyle, Robert Carlyle, I think his name is. What a great villain. I think one of the best James Bond villains, in fact. And I know Denise Richards gets a lot of flack for playing Christmas Jones, kind of a funny name, because she plays a nuclear physicist, and everybody's like, she doesn't act like or look like a nuclear physicist. Like, she doesn't quite personify, a genius, But I always say, I don't care. If she looks good in a bikini, she's a good Bond girl. Like, that's all I need for a Bond girl is look good in a bikini. And I don't care about how good of an actor you are. I don't care about anything. It's just like, all you have to do is look good in a bikini, and she does. So to me, she passes the test of a good Bond girl. And so I don't understand all the hate. She's really good looking. What else do you need? But yeah, I still think it's a solid James Bond movie. Which I believe I have another James Bond movie in here. Yeah, here's the other one I got. And I already have Die Another Day, I already revealed, but here's another Pierce Brosnan one. The second one, Tomorrow Never Dies. This is actually the first James Bond movie I saw in the movie theater. I didn't see Goldeneye in the movie theater. I was a little young for that, but when this came out, I saw it with my mom and my uncle Kevin, I remember. My uncle Kevin must have been visiting, and we went and saw it. I loved it. It's actually one of my favorite James Bond movies. And I loved it in the theater. Maybe I just have a lot of nostalgia because I've never seen it in the theater and just being like, wow, this is such a great action movie. I love the James Bond series. I thought Pierce Brosnan was great. I love the whole motorcycle chase scene with future Oscar winner, in fact, is in here. Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh played kind of a Bond girl who's Chinese, like, super spy. I thought she was great in here. Like I said, the scenes with her and Pierce Brosnan were great. Crazy. It's long before she, eventually won her Oscar for Best Actress. But yeah, and also I thought really good villain. I thought I'm trying to remember his name. Jonathan Pryce is a really good villain as the mega mogul, news guy. This is the first time I saw him in a movie, and now he's an Oscar-nominated actor himself. Anyways, I thought the action was really good here. Overall, still one of my favorite James Bond movies, to be honest. All right, we're getting towards the end here. We got Julie and Julia. Yeah, this movie with Meryl Streep and Amy Adams, where Meryl Streep plays Julia Childs, the famous French cook who had her TV show, and she had kind of a funny voice and very jovial. And so it's an interesting idea for a movie where we got Meryl Streep playing Julia Childs, and then Amy Adams is... it's kind of almost a biography of Julia Childs, but then also you got this other character played by Amy Adams, and I think it's based off a true story, if I remember right, where she plays a housewife or something like that who goes through all Julia Child's cookbook and cooks every single meal that's in her cookbook and does a blog about it. And the whole idea is like she has this challenge. She challenges herself, see if she can get through the whole cookbook, and she's never cooked this stuff before. And so we kind of go back and forth between the present and the past. We go through the past to see how Julia Childs becomes famous, kind of this famous chef. And then we cut to Amy Adams, who is trying to cook all this food and doing a blog and kind of coming semi-famous because of it. It's a really cool idea, I think, and it really works for me, and lots of good food as well. See a lot of good food being cooked. All right, this was cool. I got Prince of Egypt. This is the very first, or is it first or second DreamWorks movie? Might be the second one. Ants might have been the first DreamWorks movie, and then with Ants was a 3D, or a computer-generated movie, and this was a 2D animation movie. But I think a really good animation movie from DreamWorks. kind of the last of its kind of the 2D animation, because it kind of went away from 2D animation and went completely CGI, or I say CGI, computer generated, I guess, movies. And good musical too, some good musical numbers. And of course, it's about, you know, Moses and his story in the Bible, where he, you know, the Jews are slaves in Egypt, and God calls him to lead them out of Egypt. Anyway, so that whole storyline, and they kind of make a whole storyline between him and Ramses being like brothers and being close, but then now they're separated because he follows God, you know, and of course Ramses the Pharaoh. Overall, a pretty good adaptation. It's obviously a lot of made up stuff that aren't in the Bible, but I think it's still, it's compared to most movies that take, most Hollywood type movies, if they do a story of the Bible, they really don't do justice at all to the Bible, and they make some stuff up that's way off. Even though this isn't accurate necessarily, I think it still is respectful of the story of Moses and the Bible. So I really appreciate it for that, for being still, for most part, capturing what Moses' story is anyways. And like I said, the music's really good. It won an Oscar for Best Song. If You Believe, or When You Believe, by like Mariah Carey, and it was like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston or something like that. Some really big named singers. But yeah, it's of course it stars. Now I'm looking at it doesn't say anybody's name back here. Now I'm forgetting the name of the actor, but Val Kilmer, I think, stars in it, if I remember right, and I don't remember who else is in it, because it doesn't say on the back here. And I don't know if anybody, this was a Spielberg kind of produced movie, because it's DreamWorks. This is one of DreamWorks' first movies where they're becoming a studio that's, you know, starting to compete with Disney at the time, because Jeffrey Katzenberg also came from Disney and went over here and started making movies. Hans Zimmer score, which I didn't realize, so it's great Hans Zimmer score here. Directed by Brenda Chapman, Steve Hickner, and Simon Wells. Brenda Chapman, I think, has directed quite a bit. So anyways, overall, a very solid animation movie from DreamWorks. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm glad to have that, view that. I know Jacob Martin's a huge fan of that movie as well, so it's probably one of DreamWorks' best movies, to be in fact. Another absolute classic, one of my favorite animation movies of all time. We got Finding Nemo. This is like maybe the fifth movie that DreamWorks made. So I felt like it was still early DreamWorks, and DreamWorks already was huge with the Toy Story 1 and 2, Bug's Life, and Monsters Incorporated, and then Finding Nemo. It was like every movie was just absolutely fantastic. This is when Pixar can do no wrong. Before they had their fall, they were just making one blockbuster after another. This was the first directed, let's see, the guy who directed this also directed like WALL-E, a really good animation director, and he was responsible for, I think, co-writing like Toy Story and some of the early Pixar films. So really one of the great like filmmakers at Pixar early on. I don't know, I haven't really heard his name for a while, and I can't remember his name, and I don't see it here on the back, but if you're watching this, you probably know who I'm talking about. This is a really cool DVD. Again, I might have bought this and give it to my parents and never got the Blu-ray. I'm trying to look for Andrew Stanton. Yeah, Andrew Stanton directed this. He also directed WALL-E, another favorite animation movie of mine. I can't remember if he directed anything else, but to me, he's one of the great Pixar directors. Pixar, like Pete Docter came out of here. Of course, John Lasseter was, you know, the kind of the co-creator of Pixar, one of the creators of Pixar. Early on, man, they were directing some really good animation movies, and this is a great one, of course. And it was so groundbreaking for the time. The animation being underwater was so well done, and some great characters. Dory, I love Dory, one of my favorite animation characters, and also I love the turtle, and a lot of great sequences there. But yeah, just a really well done film, really well written, great cast, very funny, but also has some emotional moments as well. It's one of the all-time greatest Pixar movies, in my opinion. All right, one last movie, and we'll finish out What's in the Box series. So the last one I'm going to talk about is Robots. which I'm glad I got this back because this is one I actually really like. This is another Sky Blue, I believe, did this one. Yeah, Blue Sky. I always get that wrong. Blue Sky. As I was in theater, I thought it was absolutely hilarious, mostly because of Robin Williams. Robin Williams' character, I forget his name, but he's absolutely hilarious. Another great Robin Williams performance. I think probably the greatest voice actor of all time. He's so funny. But you got Ewan McGregor kind of starring here. But overall, really good. You can see all the names there. Really good cast. Really funny movie. You know, it's a decent story overall. But it's definitely probably my favorite movie coming out of Blue Sky, probably. I mean, they were coming out trying to compete against, it's funny when we're talking about animation. Obviously, Disney Animation is always going to be the biggest like animation studio, and then Pixar came around. Pixar at this point was huge, and then Disney would own Pixar. But then DreamWorks was huge because the Shrek movies were huge, and they were making some other stuff that were really doing well. In fact, recently, Wild Robot, you know, was one of the best DreamWorks movies that they made recently. They just made last year, and it's one of their best. But Blue Sky, it's kind of almost forgotten because they came out strong with the Ice Age movies, do very well. Kind of their you know, mascot for their animation studio. They did Robots, which is a really good movie. Like I said, maybe my favorite out of Blue Sky. That and Ice Age, first Ice Age movie are, I think, the two best probably out of here. And then I can't remember what else they made. I think they made like a Charlie Brown one, which is pretty good. And I know they made some other ones I'm not remembering top of my mind. They mostly they did like 5 or 6 Ice Age movies. They're really trying to milk Ice Age for as most as they can. They never did a sequel to this, unfortunately. They could have made a series out of Robots, but they only made the one movie. But it's overall a really good, I think, animation movie from that series, from that studio that's, I should say, is no longer around. They went out of business, so I don't know. Somebody else owns those rights to those movies now. I'm not sure who, but anyway, so that's the last movie of my What's in the Box. So if you've been with me through this, hopefully you've been seeing lots of different movies and CDs that I've gotten, that I've added to my collection. A lot of interesting ones, a lot of DVDs. I'm going back to doing DVDs because Blu-rays, just buying Blu-rays is, you know, can get kind of expensive still, and getting DVDs are much cheaper, and you know, it's lower quality. It's like, I don't care as much. I just like owning the movies and put it on my shelf anyway. So yeah, so that's my list. Feel free to comment what do you think about this haul, and what do you think about all the movies I got from these boxes that I put together from my parents' house. And besides that, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for liking the video, and thank you so much for my subscribers for supporting the channel. I couldn't do it without you, and I appreciate you guys, and hope you have a good day.